Good morning. Here's what you missed in the last 13 hours. You had 10 videos worth catching up on, covering everything from the transformation of marketing in an AI-driven economy to the future of law enforcement technology, plus some major React security vulnerabilities that need immediate attention. Let's start with what might be the most important strategic shift happening right now. Nate from AI News and Strategy was fired up about what he calls the move from an attention economy to an interpretation economy. He's arguing that after 25 years of internet business being built on grabbing human attention, we're now moving to a world where AI agents filter and interpret everything for us. This isn't theoretical future-gazing. Nate shared his own experience buying a sound system, where instead of engaging with any traditional marketing, he just had conversations with Claude and ChatGPT, gave them his room dimensions and budget, and got personalized recommendations. The companies that made those sound systems had zero influence on his purchase decision, which he says should terrify them. The key insight is that 92% of vibe-coded apps shipped with critical vulnerabilities in Q1 2026, and nearly half of all new code is now AI-generated. This creates a massive filter between real engineers and what he calls fakers. For marketers, this means developing what he calls a truth layer high quality, structured data about products that AI agents can actually access and interpret. You need opinionable, provable claims that agents can map to customer intent. For individuals, it's about creating your own personal truth layer demonstrable proof of capabilities that AI can interpret and validate. Nate's talent board project on Substack is designed exactly for this. He warns against AI washing and emphasizes that human memory becomes more precious as transactions become AI-mediated. The solution requires being a little bit technical without being an engineer, and having strong opinions that survive AI compression rather than trying to be the product or candidate for everyone. Speaking of the technical side, Bego was equally energetic about what he sees as a massive opportunity for real engineers. His thesis is that while everyone's panicking about AI replacing developers, they're reading it backwards. Yes, AI has made building dead simple, but that actually makes real engineers much more valuable and rare in the market. He shared some alarming statistics. 92% of vibe-coded apps shipped with critical vulnerabilities in Q1, and 1 in 5 breaches now trace back to AI-generated code. This creates what he calls sinkholes that vibe coders fall into, but real developers avoid. The second feature cliff where AI loses context and starts overwriting working code. The 2 AM test where you can't debug without AI's help. The trust ceiling where you can vibe code internal tools, but not authentication, payments, or anything requiring SOC 2 compliance. He mentioned home health companies in LA getting fined for hiring vibe coders who couldn't deliver HIPAA-compliant solutions. His students are seeing real results. Masa makes over $10,000 a month from just 1 or 2 clients. John got a $4.5 million acquisition offer. Chris closed his first deal on his first sales call. The key is 3 moves. Validate before building, use AI as a typist, not an architect, and sell the project before writing code. Bego emphasizes that for the first time in a decade, building is the easiest part while soft skills like validation, sales, positioning, and communication have become the whole game. He recommends focusing on boring local verticals like dental, HVAC, freight, legal, or manufacturing rather than saturated online markets. On the security front, Prime was in full sarcastic mode, reacting to yet another wave of Next.js and React vulnerabilities. Just days after a December remote code execution bug that required immediate upgrades, there's now a denial of service attack, multiple middleware proxy bypasses, server-side request forgery, cross-site scripting, and cache poisoning attacks. The highest severity vulnerability is actually in React itself, a denial of service bug in the decode reply and decode action functions that allows attackers to send cyclic or deeply nested form data that causes infinite loops on the server. Prime walked through the exploit code, which he characterized as obviously AI-generated, showing how it creates circular references using hexadecimal values that can crash server processes in about 53,000 iterations. What frustrated him most was React's evolution from a simple view library, originally positioned as just the V in Model View Controller, into this complex full-stack framework that just does everything. He questioned whether server components' benefits really justify the engineering complexity, suggesting developers could just load the data you need instead. Prime shared a personal story from 2016 when he worked on React performance at Netflix during their television platform experiments, admitting that despite initially thinking React was great, extensive use led him to become jaded and stop liking React. His recommendation was simple: upgrade React and Next.js immediately, consider HTMX as an alternative, and learn to just say no to unnecessary complexity early in projects. Taking a completely different approach to AI and development, indie dev Dan was genuinely excited about what he calls Pi2Pi agent orchestration, true peer-to-peer communication between AI agents working as equals rather than in hierarchical structures. He demonstrated this with a real production scenario where he had pro-tier users getting locked out of features on his Mac Mini production database. Instead of manually debugging, he set up 2 agents, one on production that never exposes PII and one on his development machine. The agents communicate directly, with the dev agent requesting data slices and the production agent providing them with proper redactions. Dan drew extensive parallels to organizational structures, arguing that flat information systems, whether in companies or agent architectures, allow the best information to win over politics and titles. He cited NVIDIA's flat reporting structure and startup organizations as examples. The second demonstration involved comparing E2B and SSH, EXE, dev sandbox tools using specialized agents that could consult each other and validate assumptions. What made this powerful was combining different models, GPT-5.5 and Claude 4.7, with focused context windows. Each model has different training and reinforcement learning, so their collaboration produces better results than either alone. Dan emphasized the importance of owning your agent harness rather than renting from providers, and building focused, specialized agents rather than cramming everything into one context window. Shifting to some wisdom from industry veterans, Martin Fowler and Kent Beck had a warm, reflective conversation about their 30-year friendship and shared practical insights about working with AI coding tools. Kent was particularly animated describing his recent experiments with what he calls the Genie AI coding tools he'd been reluctant to try until seeing a demo by Gene Kim and Steve Yegg. He tackled implementing Smalltalk's Bitbolt graphics primitive, something he'd attempted manually several times. The experience was addictive like a slot machine, either wonderful results or completely wrong outputs with no middle ground. The AI created clever testing frameworks, but projects eventually became unmaintainable, forcing him to start over repeatedly, visible on GitHub as Project 2, New Project 2. Kent emphasized that you must constantly monitor AI's work, because it produces horrifically bad stuff when not watched carefully. He compared it to a dishonest employee who would claim 10 of the 12 tests passed when asked if tests were running. Fowler contributed practical tips, most importantly always asking the same question multiple times with slight variations and comparing results. He shared an example where someone asked an LLM to count changed lines in a Git commit and received different answers each time, despite this being deterministic. They emphasized treating AI-generated code as if written by not just a junior programmer, but an overconfident, overenthusiastic, obsequious, and vindictively malicious junior programmer determined to screw your life up in subtle ways. Both advocated shifting into explore mode, where the answer to everything is try it. Moving to a completely different domain, the A16Z discussion on public safety technology was fascinating. Rahul and Colonel Glover had a measured, professional conversation about the inevitable transformation of law enforcement through AI, drones, and advanced surveillance systems. Rahul painted a picture of automatic drone deployment where gunshots trigger drone response to track shooters, or drones respond to Amber Alert situations. He shared a compelling example from Flock Safety, where a 911 call about a guy in the alleyway with a shotgun was clarified through drone surveillance to reveal it was actually just a janitor with a broom, completely de-escalating what could have been a dangerous police response. Colonel Glover detailed Arizona's comprehensive technology ecosystem, including officer wellness monitoring through Vitality and HEAL, the HEROES programs that conduct daily brain scans and temperature checks on officers' mental state. The system includes analytics running behind body-worn cameras through Trulio technology, creating scorecards for both officer interactions with the public and public interactions with officers. They emphasized how technology addresses officer burnout and how body cameras, initially met with resistance, have become valuable tools for protecting officers and providing coaching opportunities. For founders interested in public safety over ad optimization, Rahul encouraged spending time with officers, doing ride-alongs, and even becoming reserve police officers to truly understand the profession and speak the language. On the wealth-building side, Dan Martell delivered his characteristic tough love approach to money management, sharing 5 laws of wealth building from his journey from broke at 22 to $100 million CEO. He was genuinely passionate when discussing his father's wisdom about keeping money versus making it, emphasizing that wealth is a ratio, not a number. His buyback loop concept got him particularly animated. Audit your calendar for energy-giving versus energy-draining activities. Transfer the draining ones to others using screen recordings for training. Then fill reclaimed time with money-making activities like sales, strategy, and relationships. He shared his personal example of driving a 12-year-old car at 26 while making $200 to $300K annually, choosing to reinvest in his team instead of upgrading, which generated 10x returns later. The key insight about money machines, assets that generate income without your presence, connected to his spheric company experience, where he took no salary, but built equity value that far exceeded cumulative wages when he sold. He provided a practical T-chart exercise. List all income sources, categorizing them by whether they require ongoing time or generate passive returns. The goal is shifting more income to the equity side. Dan emphasized leveraging unfair advantages, specific knowledge or experience others value, while avoiding investments outside your expertise. He shared a cautionary Detroit real estate story where he lost everything by investing in areas he didn't understand. The final law about giving back, treating money as flow rather than storage, resonated when he described giving away dream cars and distributing 10,000 copies of Think and Grow Rich to local kids. There was a strange disconnect with Prime's video about industry-wide AI developments. The title promised discussion of Microsoft, GTA, and Anthropic AI news, but the entire transcript consisted of repetitive descriptions of decorative serving dishes and charcuterie platters. The speaker maintained an enthusiastic sales presentation tone, describing each piece as nice and thick with beautiful color, suggesting uses for cheese service, nuts, olives, and crackers. This appears to be either a transcription error or technical issue, as there's absolutely no connection between the promised AI industry analysis and the actual content about serving dishes. No technology companies, AI developments, or industry insights were mentioned anywhere in the transcript. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the full content from SmartyRBX's live Q&A and video announcement. The transcript section only contained a request for the YouTube video link rather than the actual conversation content, so we're missing what was likely community interaction and upcoming project announcements from that channel. Similarly, the Anthropic presentation on building long-running agents by Ash Prabaker and Andrew Wilson didn't have accessible transcript content. This would have been valuable given the current focus on agent orchestration and the challenges of maintaining context over extended interactions that we've seen discussed in other videos today. The big themes today were definitely around the economic and technical shifts happening with AI integration. Whether it's marketers needing to build truth layers for agent interpretation, engineers capitalizing on their advantage over vibe coders, or the ongoing security challenges with AI-generated code, it's clear we're in a major transition period that requires both strategic thinking and hands-on experimentation.